Capricorn, stop scrolling. The next 48 hours could change the direction of your destiny. August 10th is not just another day. As the solar eclipse approaches, something you have been waiting for may finally begin to move, and Capricorn, the first sign may already be happening in your life. 1. Something is shifting before you can see it. Capricorn, there are moments when life changes quietly, long before the results become visible to anyone around you. You may not receive a dramatic announcement. There will be no flashing sign, no perfectly timed phone call, no single moment where everything suddenly makes sense. You may not wake up tomorrow with every answer you have been searching for. Instead, you may notice something far more subtle, something almost invisible at first. Your feelings begin changing in ways you cannot fully explain. Your patience for certain people, certain conversations, certain situations becomes noticeably weaker. Your desire for old outcomes, the ones you used to chase so intensely, quietly disappears. And suddenly, what once felt familiar, what once felt safe and comfortable, starts feeling completely different in your hands. This is why the energy building around August 10th deserves your full attention. You are approaching a powerful eclipse window, and symbolically, eclipses represent moments of redirection, revelation, and endings that create room for something new to exist. They do not simply add something to your life, they clear space first. For Capricorn specifically, this can feel especially significant. You are naturally focused on structure, on stability, on responsibility, and on long-term results that can be measured and trusted. You build carefully, you plan with intention, you do not like uncertainty, and you have spent years constructing a life that feels solid beneath your feet. But here is the question worth sitting with tonight. What happens when the structure you built is no longer aligned with the person you are becoming? What happens when the walls that once protected you now feel like they are keeping you from something greater? That, Capricorn, is exactly where the real shift begins, not in the collapse of what you built, but in the quiet recognition that it may be time to build again, differently, wiser, and closer to who you actually are now. 2. The 48-hour destiny window. Think back over the last few weeks of your life. Was there something you kept thinking about again and again, but kept avoiding making a real decision on? Was there a relationship, a career situation, a financial concern, or a personal goal that kept quietly returning to your mind at the strangest moments? Late at night, during a commute, in the middle of a conversation about something completely unrelated. Capricorn, sometimes the message is not hidden from us at all. Sometimes we simply keep postponing what we already know deep down to be true. We tell ourselves we need more time, more information, more certainty. But often, the truth arrived a long time ago. We just were not ready to accept it yet. The next 48 hours can be treated as a symbolic preparation period. Not because the universe is forcing you into a sudden dramatic decision, not because something has to happen exactly on schedule, but because eclipse energy can inspire deep reflection, and it can make unresolved themes in your life feel undeniably louder. You may suddenly realize, perhaps while doing something completely ordinary, that you have been carrying something that no longer belongs in your future. A belief, a relationship dynamic, a version of a goal you outgrew a long time ago but never officially released. And here is the important part, Capricorn, the part I need you to remember. Do not confuse discomfort with failure. They are not the same thing, even though they can feel identical in the moment. Sometimes discomfort is simply evidence that an old version of your life has become too small for the person you are turning into. Growth rarely feels peaceful while it is happening. It often feels like tension, right before it feels like freedom. 3. The first sign you stop chasing. The first sign may be surprisingly simple, almost too quiet to notice at first. You stop chasing. You stop explaining yourself over and over to people who constantly misunderstand you, no matter how clearly you speak. You stop trying to force a relationship, a friendship, or a partnership into becoming something it was simply never going to be. You stop begging, even silently, for recognition that should have been offered freely a long time ago. You stop trying to prove that you are worthy of opportunities that should recognize your value naturally without you having to convince anyone. Capricorn, this does not mean becoming cold or distant. It does not mean shutting people out or building higher walls. It means becoming clear. There is a profound difference between giving up and releasing, even though the two can look similar from the outside. Giving up says, I cannot do this anymore. I am defeated. Releasing says something entirely different. Releasing says, I no longer need to control how this unfolds. I trust that letting go creates room for something better to arrive. That single distinction can completely change the energy you carry into every room, every conversation, every decision. And if you have recently felt strangely detached from something you once desperately wanted, pay close attention to that feeling instead of pushing it away. Do not panic when the old fire fades. It may simply be a sign that your priorities are shifting beneath the surface, preparing you for a version of your life that fits who you are becoming, not who you used to be. 4. A hidden truth may surface. The second sign is revelation. Something you did not fully understand before may suddenly make sense, almost overnight. A conversation could reveal someone's true intentions in a way that stops you in your tracks. A delayed answer, one you have been waiting weeks or even months for, could finally arrive. A confusing situation that has kept you up at night could suddenly become surprisingly simple to understand. Or you could have a quiet, private realization, one that no one else witnesses, that changes the way you look at your entire situation. Capricorn, remember this: clarity does not always come from receiving brand new information. Sometimes clarity comes from finally accepting information you already had, information you have been quietly avoiding, because accepting it meant facing an uncomfortable truth. The eclipse symbolism here is particularly powerful, because eclipses are often associated with shadows being revealed and old patterns becoming impossible to ignore any longer. What was once easy to excuse becomes suddenly obvious. What was once easy to overlook becomes something you cannot unsee. If something or someone has been repeatedly showing you exactly who or what it is, stop arguing with the evidence in front of you. Stop rewriting the story to make it more comfortable. Your intuition may be asking you to look at reality instead of potential, at what actually is, instead of what you hope it could become. That shift alone, from hope to honesty, can change the entire direction of your next chapter. 5. Your old timeline is losing its power. There is another shift happening beneath the surface of your life right now, one you may not have consciously named yet. Your old timeline may be losing its emotional power over you. Maybe you once believed you had to follow one very specific path with no room for deviation. Maybe you thought success had to happen by a certain age, a deadline you set for yourself years ago without fully realizing how much pressure it would create. Maybe you believed one particular person had to stay in your life forever, no matter what. Maybe you thought one single opportunity was your only chance, and if you missed it, everything would fall apart. But Capricorn, life is bigger than one timeline. It always has been, even when it did not feel that way. You are allowed to change the plan. You are allowed to outgrow your previous goals, even the ones you worked incredibly hard for. You are allowed to say out loud or simply within yourself, "This is no longer what I want." That sentence is not a failure. It is one of the most honest things a person can admit. And sometimes destiny does not arrive by giving you exactly what you originally requested. Sometimes destiny arrives by quietly removing your attachment to what was never actually meant to remain in your life. What feels like loss in the moment may later reveal itself as redirection, guiding you towards something far more aligned with who you truly are. 6. Career and money energy. Now let's talk about something especially important for Capricorn, something close to the core of who you are: career and money. You may be entering a period where your definition of success begins to change, quietly and gradually. Perhaps you have been working incredibly hard without receiving the recognition you expected or deserved. Perhaps you have been waiting for a promotion, a new opportunity, a business breakthrough, or a meaningful financial improvement, and the waiting itself has started to feel exhausting. The message here is not to expect instant wealth or overnight success simply because of an eclipse. That would be an oversimplification, and you deserve honesty, not empty promises. Instead, use this period as an opportunity to identify where your effort is actually producing real results and where it is not. Ask yourself honestly and without judgment, where am I investing energy without receiving any real return? Where am I undervaluing myself, whether in a job, a business, or a negotiation? What skill have I been quietly ignoring, even though I know it could open new doors? What opportunity have I been afraid to pursue, simply because it required more courage than comfort? The eclipse window can become a powerful symbolic reset when you finally stop spending your limited energy on things that no longer deserve it. Redirection is not a punishment, Capricorn. It is often the exact thing that finally allows your effort to reach the results it was always meant to create. 7. Love and relationships. In relationships, Capricorn, the energy may become even more emotional over these coming days. You could feel a much stronger need for honesty, a need that feels less negotiable than it used to. You may no longer be satisfied with mixed signals, half-truths, or vague promises that never quite turn into action. You may want consistency instead of grand gestures, steady presence instead of occasional bursts of affection. If you are currently in a relationship, this can be a meaningful time to quietly ask yourself whether both people are actually growing in the same direction, or whether you have simply been standing still together out of habit and history. If you are single, you may begin recognizing, perhaps for the first time with real clarity, why certain patterns kept repeating in your past relationships. The same type of person, the same type of ending, the same type of disappointment. That recognition is not meant to make you bitter. It is meant to make you free. And if someone from your past suddenly comes to mind during this window, do not automatically assume it means they are meant to return to your life. Sometimes the return of a memory is not an invitation to reopen a closed door. It is an invitation instead to finally close that door completely, with peace instead of longing, with closure instead of confusion. 8. The emotional release, Capricorn. You have probably carried more than the people around you realize. That is simply who you are. You often appear strong, composed, and completely in control, even in moments when you are quietly processing very difficult emotions in private, far away from anyone's view. But strength does not mean carrying everything forever. Strength does not mean never setting anything down. During a symbolic eclipse period, emotional release can become a genuine part of the transformation happening within you. You may feel unexpectedly nostalgic. You may suddenly remember someone or something from your past without any obvious trigger. You may simply feel tired of pretending something does not hurt as much as it actually does. Let yourself acknowledge it, Capricorn. Just acknowledge it, nothing more required right now. You do not have to turn every single emotion into an immediate decision. You do not have to fix everything the moment you feel it. You can simply observe it, sit with it, and let it exist without judgment. Sometimes healing does not begin with action at all. Sometimes healing begins the moment you finally stop fighting the truth of how you feel. 9. What Capricorn needs to release. There are 3 things I want you to seriously consider releasing before this eclipse window passes. First, the need to control every single outcome in your life. Not every result can be engineered, no matter how carefully you plan. Second, the belief that your past mistakes somehow define your entire future. They do not. They never did. They are simply chapters, not the whole story. Third, the fear that if you let go of something, nothing better will ever come to replace it. That fear has likely kept you holding on to things far longer than you needed to. Capricorn, your future cannot fully enter a space that is completely occupied by your past. This does not mean forgetting your history, erasing the lessons, or pretending the difficult moments never happened. It means refusing to let yesterday make every single decision for tomorrow. Ask yourself tonight, honestly, in a quiet moment, what am I still holding on to because I am afraid of what happens after I finally release it? Sit with that question. Do not rush to answer it. Your answer, whenever it arrives, may reveal far more than you expect it to. 10. The new direction begins with one choice. Your destiny shift does not necessarily begin with a dramatic external event, a sudden windfall, or a perfectly timed miracle. It can begin with something far smaller and far more powerful than that. One internal decision, one boundary finally set, one conversation you have been avoiding, one application you finally submit, one idea you finally act on instead of only thinking about, one decision to stop returning to the same exhausting cycle, one decision to finally take yourself seriously, the way you deserve to be taken. Capricorn, do not underestimate small decisions made with complete conviction. Your entire life can change because of one choice, repeated consistently, day after day, until it becomes who you are, instead of something you occasionally do. So instead of asking, when will everything finally change, ask yourself a different question. What can I change today? That single shift in the question puts the power back where it belongs, in your own hands, exactly where it was meant to be all along. 11. Your eclipse message. If there is one message I want you to remember from everything we have discussed today, let it be this. You are not being punished by uncertainty. You are being given space to become clear. The next chapter of your life does not need to look like the previous one. You do not need everyone's approval to move forward. You do not need to prove that you deserve better, because you already do, whether anyone acknowledges it or not. And you do not need to know every single step of the path before you are willing to take the next one. Let this eclipse window remind you that transformation often begins quietly, far away from any spotlight. First, your mindset changes, subtly, almost without you noticing. Then your choices change, one small decision at a time. Then your habits change, slowly reshaping your daily life. And eventually, your reality itself begins reflecting the person you have become, not the person you used to be. 12. The Capricorn Declaration. Before we finish, Capricorn, take a moment right now and make a simple declaration for yourself. You can say it silently or out loud, whichever feels right in this moment. Say, I release what no longer aligns with my future. I welcome clarity. I trust myself to recognize the right opportunities when they arrive. I no longer chase what requires me to abandon my own worth. I am ready for a new chapter. You do not have to force anything tonight, Capricorn. You do not have to have it all figured out right now. You simply need to become honest with yourself first about what you are ready to leave behind and what you are finally ready to pursue. 13. Powerful closing in Capricorn. If this message reached you at exactly the right moment, take it as a gentle reminder to slow down and truly listen to yourself. The coming days are not about predicting every single detail of your future with perfect accuracy. They are about becoming conscious of the direction you are choosing, moment by moment, decision by decision. If you are ready to release the old chapter and step into a stronger version of yourself, comment, I am ready below. And if this message resonated with you, subscribe to the channel, because more Capricorn astrology, cosmic energy, and spiritual guidance is coming your way. Share this video with another Capricorn who needs to hear this reminder today. Your next chapter does not have to begin with a miracle. Sometimes it begins with one brave decision. And Capricorn, your decision may be closer than you think. 14. Bonus, one final truth. Before you go, Capricorn, one last thing. Somewhere along the way, you may have started believing that being strong meant never needing anyone. That being responsible meant carrying every burden alone. That being capable meant you were never allowed to ask for help, or rest, or simply be taken care of for once. That belief served you for a long time. It may have even protected you. But protection and growth are not always the same thing, and what once kept you safe can quietly become the very thing that keeps you stuck. You are allowed to want more than survival, Capricorn. You are allowed to want ease, not just achievement. You are allowed to want a life that feels good, not only a life that looks impressive from the outside. So as this eclipse window passes and the next chapter begins to take shape, do not only ask yourself what you need to build, ask yourself what you finally have permission to receive, because Capricorn, you have spent so long earning everything. Maybe now some of it is simply meant to arrive. Capricorn, before you close this video, take one more second. If this message spoke to something you have been feeling but could not put into words, give it a like. It genuinely helps this channel reach more Capricorns who need to hear exactly this, at exactly the right moment, the way you found it today. If you want guidance like this waiting for you regularly, subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a reading meant for you. Comment, "I am ready," if you feel this eclipse window is calling you towards something new. And if someone in your life, a friend, a sibling, a partner, came to mind while you were watching this, share it with them. Sometimes the most meaningful thing you can do for another Capricorn is simply say, "This made me think of you." Thank you for spending this time with me today. I will see you in the next reading, Capricorn. Until then, trust the shift that is already happening inside you.